Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today's event. My name is Alex Manugian, and I am an account executive here at Myers Holm. And we'll be kicking off today's presentation on how businesses overcome BI challenges using NetSuite Analytics Warehouse with a demo as well. So just by way of introduction, again, my name is Alex Manugian, account executive here at Myers Holm. We also have Kevin Staples here, one of our senior solution architects. He'll be going through some slides today talking about the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. And then we'll pass things over to Jesse Bott, who's our solution architect on the NSAW side, who will be actually going through the demonstration itself. For those of you who aren't familiar with Myers Holm, we were founded over 40 years ago and have over 425 consultants and developers focused on NetSuite, ERP implementations, and adjacent NetSuite technologies. Because of our expertise within this NetSuite ecosystem, we're here to show you today, right, how those businesses can overcome challenges using NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's event is being recorded, so all lines will be muted during the presentation. We will leave time for questions at the end, so throughout, please submit your questions in the chat, and we'll circle back and make sure all your questions are answered at the end of the session itself. So here's our agenda today. With that said, I'll pass things over to Kevin here and let him take it away on the presentation side of the house.
Hey, great to meet everyone today. As Alex mentioned, my name is Kevin Staples. I'm a solution architect here at Myers Holm. I'm really excited to be with you here today. So, what we're really kind of going to start with here is talking about some of really the inherent advantages with NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, right? So, one thing to really mention here is let's talk about from a software perspective, what's required in order to kind of produce business intelligence, right? A lot of folks will have to, if they're not using NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, they'll have to go ahead and combine a data warehouse and then an analytics platform. And the examples that might be like a Microsoft Azure or a SQL Server being combined with Power BI, or something like having Snowflake and then putting Tableau on top of that, or Google BigQuery putting Looker on top of that. And what's really powerful about NetSuite Analytics Warehouse that we want to kind of really zone in on today, that it within itself already has a data warehouse within it, and it also has an analytics platform. So you're really getting two softwares almost for one with this very powerful tool. So we're going to take a little bit of a minute here and kind of talk about really the overall architecture of NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, right? Also, it's known as NSAW as well, right? So one big thing to kind of note here is, yes, this is actually a little bit of a newer product in the kind of NetSuite ecosystem, but it's really not a new technology or anything like this. This is basically combining two existing Oracle technologies. The first one being Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse, that's ADW, and then also Oracle Analytics Cloud, or OAC, right? And it basically combines those, kind of bringing in, we've talked about, you have OAC is that kind of analytics tool, ADW is that data warehousing tool. And then the other thing that's really important to mention here too is that there's a pre-built connection to NetSuite, such that NetSuite is going to basically push all of its data directly into ADW, right? And then that enables you to use kind of Oracle Analytics Cloud to kind of build out reports and whatnot. So the really kind of emphasizing here is the pre-packaged nature of this, right? Comparatively, if we think about that last side, right? Let's say we're using Google BigQuery and Looker and NetSuite. You'd have to go ahead, build out a process to connect NetSuite to Google BigQuery, make sure that kind of all your data is flowing correctly, kind of managing that ETL pipeline, right? And then you have to figure, okay, how is Google BigQuery connecting to Looker? Is kind of all of our data schema planned out? Does that match? But with NetSuite, we're pumping in from NetSuite to NetSuite Analytics Warehouse automatically and on a schedule you can actually set. We already have that schema pre-programmed into ADW, and then we can easily build out really important reports directly within NetSuite Analytics Warehouse using kind of the OAC. Other kind of area I want to mention here is that, obviously in addition to bringing in NetSuite data, we can also go ahead and bring in other data from other sources. Maybe, you want to bring in EDI data, like, sell-through data. maybe you want to bring in data from, Google Ads, something like that. All that data can be brought into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse via that kind of custom pipeline down there. And if you are potentially bringing in data into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse from another kind of third party tool, something like, let's say, Looker, or sorry, Google BigQuery, we actually have pre-built connections to a number of those pre-existing data warehouses as well. And then, you can go ahead, take that data, blend the schema to NetSuite schema, and then you can go ahead and kind of perform all your analytics and whatnot. So that's really an architecture overview of NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. And, this is just pointing out, right, some of those potential, other sources, things as we mentioned, Shopify could be a source there, Google Analytics. And the idea here is maybe this is some level of data you don't necessarily need to bring into NetSuite because it's not really relevant to your ERP, but it could be super relevant to a number of reports you might want to build. Right. So I think now let's talk about what are some of the big benefits of NSAW, right? One is really being able to bring in data from a multitude of sources, right? And that like really combine it, right? So for example, let's play on that Shopify example a little bit, right? We'll obviously bring in all of your sales from Shopify that will come in directly into NetSuite via potentially an integration there. And then you'll obviously push all those sales. We push via that Suite Analytics connector into NSAW automatically. But let's say you want to start adding a layer and thinking about, okay, what ad campaign has been successful or not, right? You could throw in Google ad data into there. You maybe want to look at, what the shipping state is, how a promotion performed. Maybe you're starting to look at like, what is your spend per state, something like that. That is all super powerful kind of reports you can pull that really give you real insight into your company's performance, right? Another big thing is the quickness, right? All this really is real time data. We can move things very quickly. We can utilize kind of, there's a number of pre-built reports, pre-built connections. That way, then you're not spending time having to build out reports, not spending time having to build out pipelines, right? And the other big thing here is the use of dashboards. Dashboards are obviously super important to kind of any software, but especially in a kind of BI tool where you want to look at KPIs, right? Able to kind of easily, quickly build out dashboards and kind of set them up for your key folks. Let's say you have a CEO or a CFO or a COO. You want to kind of set them up with a dashboard that makes sense for their role, putting in front of them the kind of key metrics. We often see that folks use NSAW dashboards to turn into board slides, as an example. Then finally, the most important thing here kind of mentioned is, right, we really want to give you super robust analytics and be able to kind of pull those quickly, help kind of have those analytics help inform your decision making. And NSAW obviously moves super quickly. It's built on very, very powerful technologies. And the other thing it can do, kind of to mention here, is, and we talk about back to that kind of end-to-end idea, is that we know that, folks maybe just purchased NetSuite, they're using NSAW for their BI, but they want to make sure they have really a full view of what's going on. By kind of bringing in historical data, melding that to NetSuite's data model, you'll be able to have a kind of a continuity of analytics and really kind of see, what are some like key factors in subscriber churn. You'll be able to kind of see that, even though not necessarily all that data originated in NetSuite. So very powerful tool, a lot of benefits here. So kind of last thing here we want to talk about is like talk about some of those kind of major use cases we're seeing with NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. One, we'll start in the top left, right? Out of box analytics, right? Being able to kind of really pull robust reports, take some of kind of your NetSuite KPIs and reports and really put them on steroids, right? Give them a different level of visualizations and things like that. That's kind of all those powerful things you can do. And this is without any external data, just, feeding data from that direct connection into NSAW, and you'll be able to kind of utilize a lot of pre-built content. So that's one great area. Next area, I kind of touched on this a little bit too, but a lot of folks, when they go live on a new system and they go live on NetSuite, right? One of the most challenging bits for them is, okay, how do I think about data migration, right? How do I make sure I have full access to all my data? And, what we've really found is it's a lot kind of cheaper from a kind of implementation spend look, as well as kind of a speed. If folks go ahead and load their legacy transactional data right into a data warehouse like NSAW, and then one of the big things we'll do is kind of blend that data to match the NetSuite data model. And that way then folks can go ahead and run their key reports, right? Like we want to look at, is there a reason that customers who get this kind of subscription, are they often late in their billing? Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they all purchase off the same promotion or something like that. And that's the kind of thing we'll be able to track that and look at that legacy data combined and look at it combined with kind of your daily NetSuite data. We won't have to worry about like what was the time of cutover in NetSuite. We'll have full visibility into that. Also, number of machine learning tools built into NetSuite. I think Jesse will mention some of the predictive analytics tools a little bit later. Another great area to touch on a little bit, but on the marketing side, maybe there's data that kind of helps helps you have better conclusions around key pieces of data in terms of decision making. We can get that into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse when that data wouldn't necessarily fit great in your ERP. And then another area we really focused on recently too is called, we call it MHI's like accounting core, accounting class engine. This is something where we utilize NSAW, where we go ahead and actually push in kind of transactional data for businesses who have very, very high volumes, where you trying to push that data directly into NetSuite actually wouldn't work because the volume and the size. We go ahead, push that data into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, and then we build out kind of rule sets within NetSuite that tell you how to look at that data, how to summarize it, how to push summarized transactions in NetSuite, while also kind of maintaining a summary to detail reconciliation, where once you post a summarized transaction in NetSuite, we'll go ahead, tag that summarized transaction to the actual transactional data in NSAW. And that way, then, we're utilizing a balance and control, making sure that things stay in balance, it's fully auditable and whatnot. If you guys ever have a use case like that, please reach out to Myers Holm. That's something we've actually built in-house. Very proud of it. It's a very powerful tool. It helps us, make sure that maybe there's a company previously that we said, oh, we can't implement you on NetSuite because transactional volume. We can go ahead and actually kind of take on those kind of companies. It really helps us compete, take on, companies like Workday potentially. So we really like that. And last a lot of just pre-built analytics for specific areas. We're actually going to focus on some subscription revenue metrics today, which are super powerful. Also, we've built out kind of specific analytics for retail and e-commerce as well. So that really covers it for me. And now I want to kind of hand off to Jesse for him to go ahead, really give you a demo of the software, give you some insight into how it works.
Hi, I'm Jesse Bott. I'm a solution architect manager based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Work with a NetSuite Analytics Warehouse product, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll jump right into the actual demo. Okay, so what you're seeing right now is the NetSuite Analytics product. We're on the product catalog right here, and what that is this is your visualizations that come with the product. You can create your own folders, create your own visualizations within this. Kevin mentioned about pre-built visualizations. There's this NetSuite folder in here. There's over 70 visualizations that come with the product pre-built. So once you turn on their pipeline, turn on the product, those come with the product, they get populated with your data, and you can start visualizing and analyzing that data. What we're going to show today are 3 visualizations that are custom built by Myers Holm. We have SaaS metrics, we have NetSuite projects and timesheet details, and then a what if scenario of hardware service or infrastructure as a service cost estimation. So I'm first going to jump over to SaaS metrics. This is a visualization that we built custom for software as a service customers, primarily those who use NetSuite Suite Billing and Zone Billing. And to show you just the overall interface here, you'll notice on the bottom here, there's different tabs. Each of these tabs are called canvases. Canvases can be split however you like into rows and columns. So you can have one large row with one visualization. You can have it split 2 or 3 ways or 4 ways. You can have multiple rows, multiple columns, etc. Within the first visualization, we're looking at a SaaS KPI. These are kind of the primary KPIs for SaaS businesses. You'll see in the top here, the key performance indicators. This data is actually split by quarters. And if you see here, when I hover over on this arrow, you can actually expand those to view the details of those quarters, drill down to the months and dates of information. But we'll just look at the quarters for now. And these metrics right here, they're summarized in a few different ways. We have monthly recurring revenue, or in this case, quarterly recurring revenue, which is this first line right here. That's probably the most common metric that you see within SaaS businesses. Then we have the revenue split in a couple other types. We have new revenue, other revenue, churn, and revenue up for renewal. Churn, if you're not familiar with the term, that means lost revenue. Just when you're losing revenue, losing customers, losing subscriptions. That's what churn refers to. We have counts of customers, active, new, churn, resurrected. Those are customers that you lost and were brought back. Counts of active customers, new customers, churn customers. And then a lot of people like to track your sales and marketing expense as well as your gross margin. Below that, we have a stack bar chart for monthly recurring revenue. And this is split 3 different ways. It's showing your new revenue that month, your new MRR, so to speak, your recurring revenue, which is the dark blue, and then your churn revenue. So any subscriptions that end or were downgraded, those show up in red. We're going to jump over next to the sales summary canvas. And this canvas is showing you your recurring revenue split in 3 different ways. The left-hand side here, we have summarized sales by month. So this is looking at the recurring revenue for all your subscriptions by month, and then it's comparing it to the prior period. So if you look at February of 2020, it's 162,000. The prior period was 160, so that's a $2,334 variance, or a 1.44% increase. Going over to the right, you'll see the term cohort. What a cohort is a subscription start date for a group of customers. So if you have a bunch of customers that start, say, February 2020, or in the case here, this is October of 2020, that's the cohort of those customers starting. This over here in the top right is the total value of all subscriptions for that cohort over to all time. Below that, you have sales by cohort by quarter. The rows are showing the cohorts themselves, and this is showing the sales for those customer start dates for each quarter throughout time. So you can see if you scroll over here to the right, it's showing those values of those subscriptions throughout time. Moving over to another canvas, we have recurring revenue. This displays your business's recurring revenue in 2 different ways. You have ARR, or annual recurring revenue. This is your monthly recurring revenue multiplied by 12 to figure out what the annualized value would be for that month. This is a way to show your business how the revenues are either expanding or contracting. So you'll see here it's showing what that basically your run rate is for those times, those periods of time over time. There's a linear trend line in here as well to show how it's trending up and down. Below that, we have moving average annual recurring revenue, 3 and 6 months. That's actually important to see because it helps the business see your revenue trend for 3 and 6 months throughout time. And it provides you with a more accurate trending than looking at things month to month, because you're looking at what it looked like the previous rolling 3 months and rolling 6 months as well. And it averages those out. So you'll see the red here is the 6 month and 3 month is the blue bars. Jumping over to another canvas, we have subscription revenues up for renewal. And this is a nice chart because it shows you all subscriptions and their future end date. So this enables you to plan better for when your revenues are going to be ending. So you'll see when you see large amounts like this milestone right here, that means that this revenue for this Red Rivers Consulting is going to be ending in April of 2024, and you're going to lose $200,000 potentially in subscription revenue. So that helps you plan better ahead of time to know when you need to be contacting those customers and reaching out to them and figuring out when you can get the subscription contracts in their hands. Moving over to another canvas, we have CMGR, which is compound monthly growth rate. This is looking at it at a 6 and 12 month interval, and this is really showing you how your revenues are increasing or decreasing throughout time. Your compound monthly growth. The teal right here is the 6 month revenue, or CMGR, for your revenues, and then the pink is the 12 month. On the right hand side, this is showing what those rates are, but it's color coded here with conditional formatting to show if it's going up or down. Jumping over to another canvas, we have net dollar retention, and this displays the net dollar retention for all subscriptions throughout time, month to month. Net dollar retention is simply your net sales between periods of time. On the top here, we see some simple KPIs. These are showing your net dollar retention for the previous month, the last 3 months, last 6 months, and last year. And on the bottom, we have that in a line chart format to show what it looks like for the same periods of time, but throughout time. So how are you retaining your sales for the last 3 months as of May of 2020, or last 6 months or 12, et cetera. The last canvas we're going to look at in this visualization is LTV. LTV is lifetime value, and this is the total subscription revenue for all your customers within a cohort throughout time. So it starts here with the first month and goes throughout the length of the subscriptions. If you hover over each month, you'll see what those values are, and it should be growing over time. Next thing we're going to do is jump over to another visualization, and that is going to be our projects and time tracking visualization. And this is a custom analytics demo workbook that we developed to display common projects and timesheet tracking metrics for NetSuite projects and time tracking transactions. You'll notice here there's 3 canvases on this. The first canvas that we're looking at is project hours. And this displays key metrics for tracking and splitting NetSuite project hours by various dimensions. There's several different ways you can aggregate and view your project hours and a variety of chart types that are possible, which you can see on the screen. If we look at the top, we have the KPIs here, which are showing the total hours billed that month, total unbilled hours period, and the total billed amount throughout time. Going to the second row, we have total hours by employee. And if you hover over it, you'll see actually there's hours as well as dollar amounts. So these are billed amounts and total hours. You can see the top 10 clients by hours, which is split by projects or jobs. You hover over it, you can see the hours remaining and the billed amounts and the project names. Hours by item, and this is showing it in tree map format. And then below that, you have the details behind all of that. So you can see your total billed amount and hours by project and then by employee with billable rate. And it shows quite a bit of detail in here: charge dates, subsidiaries, customers, classification, items, the employee, and then of course the department. If we jump over to the next canvas, we have the timesheets canvas, which displays the NetSuite timesheet information in both summarized and detailed format. And what's really interesting about NSAW is if you look, you can see this green icon right here is a funnel. You can turn those on in any chart. And if you turn them on, that means they can interact with each other. And by that, I mean, if I come in here and I wanted to look at this 9/18 week start date, if I click on that, it's going to filter the rest of the charts in here. So click on that, you'll see this is going to change and this is going to change as well. So it's filtering it for me. I can then click off and it'll remove the filtering and reset it back to the way it was. Jumping over to the last canvas in here, project tasks. This displays NetSuite project information, and it shows it in 2 different formats. One thing I personally like is this timeline chart. This shows in a calendar format different tasks that you might have. So in this case here, it's showing it based on the day and the time. So you can see when things are happening and when they need to occur, when they start, maybe when they end. So it's showing you in a nice format with a timeline chart. Below that, you can view the details as well. And you can see quite a bit of information in here. The project name, in NetSuite, they also call it job. Project task information, so the task name, the item itself, the assigned employee and project manager, start and end date, the planned work, the actual work, and then remaining hours. So if you look here, it's got 92 hours planned here for this task. 36 has been performed, which leaves a remainder of 56 hours. There's quite a bit of information you can see there. The last visualization we're going to look at is hardware service, IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service cost estimation scenario. It's a custom workbook that we developed to perform conditional cost analysis on a company's hardware or infrastructure as a service subscription cost. And this essentially is a what-if conditional analysis of your company's annual hardware or infrastructure service costs. You'll notice on here that it's got a 10% increase that's set. This is a parameter you can change. And then below this, you'll see it's got a cost estimation scenario. So your annual service fee right here, or service cost for all your services, is $50,083. And it's a what-if conditional analysis where you're looking at what if it went up 10%. So that's an increase of $5,509 for a total new cost of $55,592. You can see it's then split by different services or different vendors. You have a Snowflake POC, Azure Database, AWS or Amazon Web Services, and then other infrastructure or hardware services. But you'll see here there's different amounts and it goes up. But what if I wanted to change this to a 40% increase? I can change that amount, press enter. It's going to recalculate everything. And now my service cost went from $50,000 to $70,616. So you have the ability to play around with that and kind of do some analyses that way. You can also drill down and view the detailed information. So on AWS, if I wanted to see what that looks like on a monthly basis, I can create a drill action or a data action and right click on this. And then you'll notice there's a right click option here. This is something that we defined in the chart that's going to take me to see only the AWS details for the monthly values. So it's going to filter this down to another canvas. You'll see AWS for January is currently $989.52. And with a 40% increase, that would be $1395.22. You can see that same information for every month. And then you can see the grand total goes from $13,837 to $19,510. There's quite a bit you can do there with conditional analysis, and you certainly can add a lot of different parameters to it as well as other filters. That concludes the demo portion of our demonstration today. Pass it back to you, Alex. Thank you very much. My name is Jesse Bott.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. And I think we had a couple questions roll in here. One around, looks like, can data from external sources, non-NetSuite sources, be loaded directly into NSAW and really combined with that NetSuite data?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's one of the most powerful parts of NSAW is the ease of kind of loading external data into NetSuite. I know there was a question in the chat about DBT on that kind of connecting to NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. I'm not sure off the top of my head whether there's a pre-built connector to it, but regardless, we always have the ability to kind of go ahead, build an integration from a third-party platform into NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, kind of serves an ETL to push data. And it's one of the most powerful features we utilize to be able to really combine all your relevant business data and produce kind of analytics that really help folks make key business decisions.
Thanks, Kevin. On that note, we got kind of a follow-up there. Is there, I guess, a tool for loading and integrating data into NSAW from external sources outside of NetSuite?
I can handle that one.
Or Jesse, I'll let you take that one. Yeah, please.
Sure. So there's pre-built connectors that come with the tool. There's about 30 or 40 connectors that come out of the box. Anything from Oracle products to Salesforce. There's connectors to other database solutions and big data sources like Hadoop and Snowflake and Impala, SQL Server, Oracle. But you can also use pretty much any ETL tool that can connect an Oracle database. The most common ones we see are Nextla, we see Boomi, Celigo, MuleSoft. Then you have other tools as well, some cloud-based solutions as well. And there's certainly ways to connect to things like AWS S3 storage or Azure storage. You can bring that in and do just a direct connection that way and do live feeds as well.
Great, thanks, Jesse. Last one here, I think we might have already covered it, but can data be blended from multiple NetSuite transaction sources into reports and analysis?
Absolutely. I would say it's actually probably one of the most powerful features, right? Is the ability to kind of easily blend, you might want to look NetSuite data. Let's just say a basic example, right? You might want to look at invoices and payments and really easily combine that data to understand, what is, the average like days outstanding in terms of those invoices, right? And when they get paid, you could look at that and really dig into that by easily combining kind of those two kinds of transactions. And then we'll also mention, in terms of that blending, that also can involve blending historical data into NetSuite's data model. So you could then run that kind of average days outstanding for invoices to payment, not only on your kind of NetSuite data, but also looking kind of back in time. If you wanted to kind of see, hey, is this customer getting better at paying us on time and they're getting worse? That kind of analysis is not going to be limited to just to when you went live on NetSuite. It's the kind of analysis we could run, on data from as far back as your historical data goes.
Great, super helpful. And with a minute to spare here, just checking to see if there's one question. Jesse, do you want to take the one around Google Analytics?
Yeah, there is a connector to Google Analytics that comes with the product. So there is the ability to actually connect to that.
Gotcha. And then lastly, considering NSA is a normal Oracle Cloud database, so if there's a connector for that, we can connect directly to NSAW. So I think the question there is, can it be operated separately, if I'm understanding correctly?
Yeah, so you can use it just like another Oracle database. We have clients that use it to store data for other purposes. The way that's set up is not based on connectivity, it's based on your amount of storage. So you get either one, you start with 1, 5, or 3 or 5 terabytes of data, depending on the subscription. And there are people that use it to connect to Python or connect to other sources as well. You can actually connect to NSAW with other tools as well, like Power BI and Tableau. We do have some clients that do that additionally with the front end as well. You kind of do both.
Wonderful. And that brings us to the end of our presentation here. We're about a minute over, so appreciate everybody hanging on. Thanks for all the great questions as well. Hopefully you learned a little bit today and got those creative juices flowing. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us directly about some of the work that we've done with Myers Holm, or reach out to your NetSuite rep, and we'd be happy to continue any conversations. Thank you again for the time today.